Wyatt, thanks for joining us. With that kind of purview, you're not going to run out of work to do. Let me start with the Americas. The United States has convened a conference of the Americas, but it has arrogated to itself the right to exclude various American countries. Where's that at?
Absolutely. You're talking about the Summit of the Americas that is scheduled to take place next month in Los Angeles. What we're talking about here is the exclusion, as you mentioned, of Venezuela, of Nicaragua, of Cuba. The State Department has indicated that is probable. Currently, I kind of see this as something that's up in the air. I kind of, to be frank, I see some potential political maneuvering behind the scenes regarding these sort of talks that we saw open up after the beginning of the special military operations in Ukraine, when we see the U.S. looking out towards Venezuela for potential oil production after having obviously sanctioned it from the market for many, many years, having helped destroy the Venezuelan economy. Now, all of a sudden, they want Venezuela's oil again. So they haven't completely shut off the possibility of Venezuela attending. They say that that is a decision for the White House to make, not Latin America. You know, we're still in this Monroe Doctrine kind of philosophy. So, you know, we'll see how that pans out, but I am not terribly optimistic about the attendance of these leftist governments that Washington has effectively decided that it's going to try to overthrow.
As more and more of these governments become vaguely, at least, leftist, it's going to be difficult for the United States to exclude everybody who's vaguely leftist. Something I'm always puzzled about. Barack Obama didn't just change America's policy towards Cuba. He went to Cuba, met the Castros. Joe Biden was his vice president. So his current stance against Cuba is a slap in the face for his own incumbency, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's a total betrayal of his campaign promise to restore relations with Cuba, right? That was something that he campaigned on. But apparently, sort of this issue of electoral politics, Florida, has basically rendered any leftward movement on Latin America effectively impossible, in terms of, at least in terms of Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, right? But you're making a great point. And, you know, just today, I think Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador should be touching down in Havana to meet with Cuban president. And this is part of sort of a goodwill tour of the region, and also something that's probably organized around migration issues. But AMLO has been central towards this new kind of regional integration movement that we're seeing in Latin America. Just a few days ago, you know, last week, the Mexican government announced the nationalization of their lithium deposits. And just a few days later, President AMLO described sort of a consortium that they are looking into alongside the governments of Argentina, Chile, and Bolivia, this lithium triangle. You know, Bolivia has about a quarter of the world's lithium deposits. Between Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile, they have around 56% of the world's global supply of lithium. So they're going to be exchanging practices for lithium production. And long term, this is kind of, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but these are the kinds of relationships that are going to need to be formed if the people of Latin America really want to take their own destiny into their own hands and create some kind of OPEC for lithium. We're talking about the what oil was for the 20th century. For the 21st century, you know, that's lithium.
Now, not only that, but Lula, who's currently 20 points ahead of the current president of Brazil, Bolsonaro, and is therefore highly likely, if nothing happens to him in the run-up to the polls, to be the next president of the mighty power of Brazil. He's talking about a new Latin American currency.
Yeah, this is again something that really has only become possible over the course of the last decade, right? We saw these attempts at regional integration under Venezuela throughout the 2000s. Latin America just didn't have the economic clout at the time to really be able to pull it off. Now we're seeing sort of a slow, much more measured, and definitely a bit more conservative efforts, but they're all going towards the same direction. And even Brazil, even under Bolsonaro, they're not willing to get dragged into this Russia versus the West proxy war. They know that the main consequences economically of this kind of conflict are going to fall on the poorest countries in the world. Certainly, they've already fallen on the poorest countries in Europe. But the increase in prices for fertilizer, prices for fuel, aluminum, those are going to fall hardest on countries like Brazil. So even outside of the frame of the left coming back, we're talking about a movement continent wide that's really irreversible at this point. And that's why you see the United States kind of trying to play catch up. But as you see, they're still stuck in these kind of Cold War mentalities, with us or against us. We're not going to let Cuba come like it's 1960s, the UN. It's really kind of depressing for people here in this continent. But it really only makes it that much more certain that this sort of new multipolar world order that is constructed will stick.
Amen. Let's hope it's irreversible. Wyatt Reed, thanks